The FBI just kicked down the doors of the WNBA league office. This isn't a rumor. This isn't Twitter chatter. At 6 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, federal agents executed a search warrant at the league's headquarters in New York and reportedly seized servers, internal comms, and the phone records of at least 3 high-ranking officials. If you thought the Terry Rozier arrest last month was the end of the gambling scandal, you were wrong. You were dead wrong. Most fans look at the headlines: Terry Rozier in handcuffs, Chauncey Billups under investigation, Jontay Porter banned for life, and they think this is an NBA problem. They think it's about rich guys getting greedy, but the reality is much darker and, frankly, much smarter. The FBI didn't raid the WNBA because of a clerical error. They raided them because the Rozier ring, the same syndicate that compromised the Miami Heat and the Toronto Raptors, didn't just stop at the men's league. They found a back door into the WNBA's injury reporting system, and they've been printing money on it for the entire 2025 season. We are talking about a RICO case. We are talking about wire fraud. And we are talking about the potential collapse of the public's trust in women's basketball right as it hits its peak popularity. In this video, we are going to answer the 3 questions that the league is terrified you'll ask. First, what exactly did the FBI find in those seized servers this morning? Second, how did a betting syndicate infiltrate the WNBA's integrity portal to fix prop bet before the books could adjust? And third, who is going to prison? Because if you look at the indictment unsealed in Brooklyn, the names involved are just low-level trainers. I've pulled the court filings. I've got the timeline of the betting anomalies from the 2025 WNBA finals, and I'm going to show you the money trail that connects a foot soreness designation in Las Vegas to a burner phone in Mississippi. Let's get into the receipts. The first thing you need to understand is the pattern. To the casual fan, an injury report is just news. Is Adria Wilson playing tonight? Is Caitlin Clark healthy? But to a sharp bettor and to the feds, an injury report is a market signal. And in the 2025 WNBA season, that signal started glitching in a way that was statistically impossible. Look at this chart from the 2025 WNBA finals. This is the betting volume on Jackie Young's point total under for Game 3. Normally, betting money flows in a smooth curve. As game time approaches, the volume ticks up. But look at this spike here. At 5:45 p.m., exactly 75 minutes before tip-off, suddenly 6 figures of handle flood the market on the under. Why does that matter? Because at 5:45 p.m., Jackie Young was listed as active. The public had no idea she was hurt. The books had her line set at 18.5 points. But 15 minutes later, at 6 p.m., the deadline for the final injury update, the Aces officially downgraded her to questionable with the hip issue. The line crashed, the books pulled the prop, but it was too late. The syndicate had already hammered the line at the favorable number. This didn't just happen once. According to the data flagged by U.S. Integrity, the watchdog firm that monitors betting markets, this specific probable to questionable late swap happened 47 times this season across 4 different teams. 47 times. In the NBA, you might get away with this once or twice before the algorithm flags you, but the FBI believes the WNBA was targeted specifically because the liquidity is lower. The markets are softer, and crucially, the integrity portal, the software teams use to input injury data, had a delay. The FBI raid this morning wasn't about finding a smoking gun. They already have it. They were seizing the server logs to prove who logged in. See, the integrity portal isn't public. When a team trainer enters right hip soreness, that data goes to the league and then to the data distributors who sell it to Vegas. There is a chain of custody. The Rozier ring, led by the defendants named in the October indictment, Marves Fairley and Shane Hennon, allegedly figured out that they didn't need to bribe a player to fake an injury. That's too risky. Players have egos. Players want to play. Instead, they targeted the data entry. The working theory in the Southern District of New York is that the syndicate paid off low-level team staffers to delay the entry of the injury into the portal. The player is hurt. The coach knows the player is hurt. The player isn't going to play, but the staffer waits. They send a signal message to the syndicate first. Jane Doe, hip, out. The syndicate bets the under. 5 minutes later, the staffer hits enter on the portal. The news drops, the line moves, the syndicate cashes out. It is simple, it is elegant, and until this morning, it was almost untraceable. But here is the twist that turned this from a scandal into a federal raid. We need to talk about the text messages. This is the part that should make every WNBA fan sick to their stomach. We know from the Jontay Porter case that these fixers use encrypted apps. But in the WNBA investigation, the feds didn't just crack the phones of the gamblers. They cracked the phones of the trainers. Rehook yourself on this reality. The FBI raid on the league office implies that the leak wasn't just at the team level, it might have been central. According to sources close to the investigation, the FBI is looking at a specific exchange dated August 14, 2025. This was right in the heat of the playoff push. The text, allegedly sent from a league-issued device, read, "Server maintenance scheduled at 6:15. You have a 10-minute window." Read that again. Server maintenance. This implies that someone with administrative access to the league's injury database, someone who could see when the system was lagging or being updated, was tipping off the bettors on when the system would be blind. If the portal is down for maintenance, teams can't update injuries officially. They have to call it in. That creates a manual delay. That delay is gold. If this receipt holds up in court, we aren't talking about a rogue trainer in Las Vegas or New York trying to make rent. We are talking about systemic corruption inside the mechanism the league uses to police itself. Why would they do it? Follow the money. We have to talk about the pay gap. And no, this isn't a political point. It is a criminology motive. In the NBA, the minimum salary is over $1 million. Jontay Porter threw his career away, but he was already rich. It was stupid. In the WNBA, the average salary is around $150,000. Many support staff, trainers, video coordinators, data entry clerks make $40,000 to $60,000 a year. The Rozier ring was moving millions of dollars, offering a data entry clerk $10,000, literally 20% of their annual salary, just to hit enter 5 minutes late. That is life-changing money for them. It is pocket change for the syndicate. The FBI knows this. The indictment against the Fairley Hennon ring specifically mentions financial grooming of lower-tier sports employees. They target the people who have access, but no money. The WNBA is the perfect storm for this. The betting limits have increased as the league's popularity exploded with the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese era. You can now get down heavy action on WNBA props, but the salaries for the people protecting that information haven't caught up. That creates a vulnerability gap. The FBI just drove a tank through it. So how did they get caught? Greed. They got too greedy. The L2M report of betting scandals is always the data. You can hide a text message. You can't hide a betting anomaly. Go back to the timeline. October 23, 2025. Terry Rozier gets arrested. The world focuses on the NBA, but buried in that same indictment, docket number 25/323, was a reference to co-conspirator 4, linked to women's professional basketball contests. The syndicate didn't stop betting when the heat turned up on the NBA. They just pivoted. They thought the feds were only looking at the men's league. They thought the WNBA was flying under the radar. But U.S. integrity was already watching. There's a specific clause in the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement, Article 13, Section 1, regarding medical disclosure. It mandates that teams must disclose any condition that may affect a player's performance by a specific deadline. When the FBI cross-referenced the server logs seized today with the betting timestamps tracked by U.S. integrity, they likely found a perfect match. Every time a big bet hit the under, the injury report entry was logged after the bet was placed, but before the news went public. The math is irrefutable. You can't beat the news by accident 47 times in a season.
This morning's raid was about physical evidence. They took the laptops, they took the phones, they are looking for the Signal app, they are looking for the crypto wallets. And this brings us to the payout. Who goes down for this? We need to look at the precedent set by the Rozier Porter cases. The Department of Justice is charging these guys with wire fraud and conspiracy. Those are federal felonies. This isn't a suspension. This is prison time. For the league, the consequences are catastrophic. The WNBA, the players' union, just opted out of the CBA. They are fighting for a bigger share of revenue. They are arguing that the players are professional athletes who deserve professional pay. But if the league can prove that the players or their trainers were selling information, that leverage evaporates. Imagine the bargaining table tomorrow. The owners will say, "You want a revenue share? We don't even know if your games are real."
It delegitimizes the product. If fans think the script is written by Vegas, they stop watching. The WNBA has spent 30 years fighting for respect. They finally got it. They broke every viewership record in 2025. And now, the FBI is hauling their servers out in evidence bags because a gambling ring treated their injury report like an ATM. Here is the reality check. The raid today is just the beginning. The FBI doesn't execute a search warrant on a major professional sports league unless they are ready to indict. They don't fish, they hunt. Expect names to drop in the next 48 hours. Expect suspensions. And sadly, expect some of your favorite players to be questioned. Not necessarily because they were betting, but because they were the pawns in a game they didn't know was being played. The integrity of the game is a fragile thing. It relies on the belief that everyone is trying to win. The moment you introduce a financial incentive to lose, or to sit out, or to fake a limp, the sport dies. The NBA survived Jontay Porter because he was a bench warmer. The NBA is surviving the Rozier allegations because he's one guy. But this WNBA raid suggests the system itself was compromised. If you want to understand exactly how the Rozier ring operated and see the full breakdown of the Eric Ernest indictment that started this whole domino effect, you need to watch the deep dive we did in the Locker Room Confidential playlist. We break down the wiretaps and the surveillance that led to the October arrests. Click here to see how deep the rabbit hole goes.